the dynamics of the heart, it being the nexus point for all parts of our system, spiritual, worldly, mental, emotional, biological, kind of mean that if you have challenges in any of those areas, that they will be reflected in the heart chakra. There are domino effects that move to the heart chakra. So paradoxically, one way to open the heart is to clear other levels of one system that are, by their domino effects, impeding the function of the heart chakra in any given moment. So, for example, if at the root chakra level we're fearful of anything, and it shuts down the energy that would normally flow up through the chakral column to the heart chakra, then the heart chakra remains closed. And unless the fear is resolved, we may, in a specific meditation process or prayer process or breathing dynamic, we may open our heart temporarily, and then it doesn't stay open 24/7 as we interact with others, because the energy of the fear from the lower chakras wells up and closes it again. And it's not often something we're consciously aware has happened. We go into stress modes or reactive fear modes or anxiety modes in any given moment, it can have that effect on the heart chakra, the energy part, not the physical. So that said, the focused intention to always have our heart chakra open all the time, virtually all the time, is a good suggestion, because then if our heart chakra closes reactively, like if somebody waved their hand in front of your eyes, does it make sense that you might blink? Your eyelids might close because you might assume there is a need to protect your eye from that hand being waved in front of your face. The heart chakra operates, all chakras in our systems can operate in the same way reactively. If we have projected fear, if we have imagined possibility of being hurt or wounded, then we can close the chakra reactively and not recognize that it's happened. I mean, when you close your eyes, you can see that you notice it because the light doesn't shine in, so to speak, from your environment, and you're not seeing what's in front of you, so to speak. And paradoxically, we don't always understand when the heart chakra closes for whatever reason, because we simply don't. It's a situation of not feeling something suddenly, often not feeling pain. And we're not advocating feeling pain. We are suggesting that when the heart chakra is open, it's quite common to feel pain. And that's good in a way. We're not advocating pain, we're advocating being willing to experience that pain in order to learn, to love, to share, to care, and to be openly able to express the energy of our soul through our heart chakra in any given moment. And in regard to the heart chakra, if we say that each of its petals of the flower of the heart, and each of the 7 levels, different levels of the heart chakra, the higher, there are 7 chambers that can be opened in the heart chakra. And each of those chambers that can be opened have a higher frequency of love, conscious love, that can be expressed through them. And if one cultivates the heart chakra, not just clearing it, energizing it, evolving it, and developing it through intention, that we then gain the capacity to express more energy, more love, more kindness, more care from our hearts, and understand from our hearts in every given moment, in every relationship, in every communication, and therefore more soul expression arrives through our words, whatever the words may be. And that said, there are numerous energies in the world these days, fortunately or unfortunately, necessarily for the evolution of humanity, that move through our energy systems like that hand being waved in front of our eyes. Meaning, if negative energies arrive to the heart chakra may say, oh, it's not safe to remain open because I'm receiving negative energy from the environment. Well, you can transmute that energy and ensure that it doesn't affect your heart chakra or defunctionalize it or trigger it into reactive closing or non-optimal balanced harmonious process. And if you do, then your heart chakra just keeps going. Crystals are very useful. If you wear a crystal around your neck, it can transmute negative energies that would normally arrive to your heart chakra that might then trigger that closing reaction. And it's in part protection, and it's in part a very functional way to keep one's heart chakra open, operating, expressing, transmuting the energies of the environment and the folks we're in a relationship with, and thus being able to constantly love them without condition or requirement or expectation. And all of that said, we would advocate always being able to open the heart chakra as we would any main in-body chakra and work with almost any chakra in our systems, even outside the body, keeping them cleared, developed, evolved, positive, aligned, harmonious, balanced. And that, again, that said, our past life karma wells up from beneath our feet, from chakras beneath our feet to our root chakra. And as soon as they reach the root chakra, if we begin to resonate with fear unknowingly, then that's like turning off a valve or turning off a switch for the energy that would normally flow to our heart chakra. And we often don't know it's happened until after. We say, well, why wasn't I loving? Why wasn't I caring? Why wasn't I expressive from my soul? Why wasn't I giving and generous and interested and compassionate in that moment? And we might not ever really have an answer for that. And quite often it's because the heart chakra is shifted into a non-optimally functional state. I don't know if that offers information. So keeping all of the chakras clear enhances the function of the heart chakra. And in regard to chakras, just briefly, there are many ways to develop chakras, and there are systems of chakra development. Some of them say that by default, it's best to clear the heart chakra, the throat chakra, the sixth chakra, and the crown chakra. And that once those are clear, then you can operate from at least potential higher discerning clarity and perceptivity in working with the lower chakras. And that is a valid process. And we would advocate that in any others. That said, paradoxically, once we start to open the sixth chakra, we often don't want to see through it, because in order to see through it, we must look upon our own karmas, which we don't want to see. So if we utilize the upper chakras being cleared, developed, and evolved to then give interpretive lenses for understanding our own karmic processes, in order to then empower us to make wise discerning decisions in alignment with spirit in order to resolve the negative karmas, that's a wonderful process. It's a valid process. And it's also useful to understand, again, that many people fear opening their six chakras because they truly fear seeing their own karmas or seeing the karmic dynamics of others, the energy dynamics that operate in the world all the time. Negativity, fear, hatred, resentment, and self-judgment and judgment of others, those dynamics, and victim-perpetrator rescuer dynamics. Most people just don't want to look at those if they're not required to. And if they don't look at them, how can they resolve them? If they don't accept they exist, how can they resolve them? All of that said, we would advocate and suggest that a comprehensive system development process is, in our view, optimal, and depending upon in a tailored way, specific to the karmas that the person's dealing with. If somebody's got negative karmas, so much so that they're experiencing trauma, strife in their lives, ongoing pain and suffering and misery or depression, etc., does it make sense that they might not be in a state where they can open their upper level chakras functionally? because they're so impaired at the lower chakras. So in that scenario, we might suggest that doing clearing meditations and mantra work that would cleanse and purify the lower chakras, even if one can't be very conscious at all about what's happening, when, where, how, and why it's happening, for what purpose it's happening. And that would be the Markandeya mantra, for example, is a common for anyone in those types of dire straits. If they did a lot of the Markandeya and Gayatri mantra, the two bookends of the soul process, likely they're going to get substantive beneficial results. That said, it's on a case-by-case basis, and most people are not in a state, average person, to diagnose their own dynamic or situation. So whatever path or process they would follow is likely going to be beneficial. If they have facilitation and someone says to them, I see your karma, I see your chakras, I see your current process, therefore I suggest this particular method or this particular approach, that's fantastic. If they don't have that, any approach that they take, as long as it ultimately arrives at a comprehensive process of working with their chakras, is going to be a benefit. If a lot of people don't have guidance, they don't have information, they don't have facilitation, they don't have healing, and they're in a way operating blindly and in a desensitized, numbed, disassociated state. If they have trauma, emotional trauma, relational trauma, karmic dynamics that they don't understand. So if we could just culminate and say in the final statement in regard to chakras for the moment, if you clear your system enough to bring the light down to the center of the earth and keep that channel pure and clear constantly, you're good. If you have any blockage in the channel, it's useful to clear it. If you have any distortion, it's good to clear it. In this tumultuous, challenged, frightened world, stressed world that we live in these days, even if you clear very well your own root chakra and hip chakras, probably your family karma or the tribal karma or the karma of the collective or your relationships is going to affect that level of your system, whether you realize it or not, whether you're aware that it's happening. And it's useful to understand that as soon as that happens, your heart closes too, or it remains functioning in a somewhat distorted or non-optimal way. So if one has narcissistic energies that flow through their system, their heart may remain open. The question is, how will it operate as it does? How will it function, or how will it be influenced by those energy currents? If one has resonance with any subcomponent of humanity, doesn't matter what the subcomponent is, a nation, a culture, a religion, a group of any kind, if they're resonant with those energies, that will affect the function and quality of consciousness and wisdom and discernment from which they operate in their heart. And lastly, and this is a challenging thing, it's important to understand, I've worked with people who, a lot of people who express hatred through their hearts. So being in one's heart is not a guarantor of being loving, kind, caring, conscious, discerning, wise, or beneficial if they're operating from that hatred that may bubble up from some other part of their chakra system or arrive from above even, believe it or not. There's plenty of people that hate at their 7th, 8th, and 9th chakras. And operating at those levels does not mean that one is beyond karma or hatred or negative emotion or fear. So this is the challenge of if people become very energetically capable in our world, that doesn't mean they're spiritual. If they become very capable of exacting their energy on another, it doesn't mean that the application of that energy is going to optimally serve. If the only guarantor we are aware of systemic optimized function is surrender to spirit in all levels of one system. That's the only way, because there is no way that spirit can be corrupt or corrupted, or turned to fear or intimidated or limited in any way. So if you're operating in that surrender to spirit in every dimension of your system, in every decision, in every interpretation, and that's not, there's no expectation in that. It's always a work in progress. It's always on a spectrum. There is no one that's perfect in those regards. And if they claim to be, you can be sure they're not.